Today we're going to be going over 8 things D1 wide receivers avoid. Now, the first thing the D1 wide receivers avoid, and guys, this video is going to be a little bit different than what we normally talk about. When normally we talk about D1 wide receivers, we talk about stuff on the field, like the route running, catching, press releases. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things that I feel all D1 wide receivers who play at the highest level do, or they avoid, I should say. So, first thing they avoid is missing class. Like, guys, your best trait is being available, especially upcoming in January. This time of year, if you're a high school wide receiver, that is when recruiting starts. They call that the contact period, and that's when different college coaches can travel out to different high schools across the country. And if you're that dude that's missing class, there might be a coach there that wants to talk to you or might get introduced to you. And if you miss that opportunity, that is why you are ultimately not getting recruiting attention from that school. So make sure that you are at every class. Unless you are just deathly ill or there's a death in the family, there is no excuse to miss school. Now, the second thing that you want to avoid as a D1 wide receiver would be getting bad grades. So I think those guys that you see that play at the highest level, like, they're not bad students. There are exceptions, obviously, to that rule, but like, you know, you hear that all the time, like, oh, you just need a 2.5 and then you can play college football or you can get recruited. Like, guys, do you know how many like limited options you have with a 2.5 GPA? A higher GPA can only help you. Like, there are a lot of Division I schools. You know what are Division I schools? Ivy League schools, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, like life-changing schools where if you get into that school and let's say you don't play football for forever, you have connections literally everywhere. You could probably get almost any job that you want, and obviously you need high grades to get into that position. So don't be that bare minimum kid, because it opens up more opportunities for you at many D1 schools, not just the Power 5 ones, and not all of you are that type of athlete where you could get away with a 2.5 GPA and have all these coaches fall all over you. Now also, fellas, if you are a quarterback or a wide receiver watching this, we are going to be traveling out to 14 more states across the entire country this year for 2-day long QB and wide receiver training camps. Next up on our camp tour, we'll be coming out to Orlando, Florida. That camp is completely sold out, and the rest of these camps, you guys, will sell out probably within the next 1 to 2 months, so make sure you take advantage of us having available spots. We limit spots for our camps so each athlete can get individual attention and individual coaching. So again, guys, very first link in that description below. We're going to be coming out next to Phoenix, Arizona, Charlotte, North Carolina, Austin, Texas. Then we'll be heading out to Las Vegas, Nevada, Seattle, Washington, Chicago, Illinois, Newark, New Jersey, Birmingham, Alabama, Houston, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Columbus, Ohio, Boise, Idaho, and finishing off our tour, you guys, in Los Angeles, California. So fellas, would like some more information, want to sign up, again, very first link in that description below. Let's get back to this video. Now, the third thing that you're going to avoid as a D1 wide receiver is missing practice. Now, to become a college level wide receiver, you obviously have to make plays. You obviously have to start on varsity. It's not going to happen overnight. So if you're missing practice constantly, you're missing opportunities to build chemistry with your quarterback. You're missing opportunities to get better at your play concepts, which is ultimately what a college coach looks for. He doesn't care what you do with 7-on-7. He doesn't care how well you perform at a camp. Yes, maybe those can help you out in certain aspects. He wants to see 11-on-11 varsity film. And if you're missing practice, that's only hurting your chances to get the best possible 11-on-11 tape. And you guys, that's going to make you look like a player that doesn't care. And you're all about yourself and you're selfish, and high school coaches do not want to play that type of player. Now, the fourth thing the D1 wide receivers avoid is skipping workouts. Like, guys, I've been, like, you know, I guess you could say a private coach, trainer for a long time, probably the last like 4 years. I guess it's really not a long time. It feels like a long time because we've worked with a ton of athletes. I have heard every excuse in the book. And I know when an excuse is real, and I know when an excuse is false, right? Or not real, or you're not telling the truth. And I get it. Sometimes, you know, guys, maybe they stayed out late the night before. Maybe, you know, they woke up not feeling too well. But at the end of the day, you got to get your work in, right? So a lot of athletes, especially a lot of receivers, love skipping workouts. They're too tired. They stayed out too late. They were playing video games. They have other things that they feel are maybe more of a priority. And I get it. I understand. But the top level guys don't miss. The top level guys show up day in and day out, get their work in, even when they're not feeling good. Like, I have college guys that I'll work with, fellas, that maybe were out late the night before. Then we'll be training at 8 a.m. and they get it in. They get the job done. Now, would I prefer them not to be out that late? Absolutely, because obviously that means that their workout's probably not going to be as good and their recovery's not going to be as good, but they get the work in. So make sure that you are not skipping workouts, off-season training, team workouts. You need to be at everything. Now, the fifth thing the D1 wide receivers avoid is neglecting the gym. I think so often wide receivers are those types of players in the gym that maybe will skip sets, they skip reps, they maybe do this certain exercise but don't do this certain exercise. Like, guys, when you are in the gym, that applies to your actual on-field play. You getting bigger, you getting stronger, you getting more explosive, you getting faster. All of those things will help you out as a wide receiver. So you look at those top D1 guys, when they're in the gym, they're about their business, they're doing all their reps, they're not skipping sets, and they're accomplishing what their coaches have set out for them to accomplish. And they're working in the gym on their own time, most likely. So if you're that player that's skipping reps and neglecting certain things in the gym, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're not doing everything possible to play at that Division I level. A lot of you have goals of playing at that Division I level or a college level, but you do these things that we were discussing in this video, and that shows you that you really don't want it that bad, and you're not willing to go the extra mile to be able to achieve that goal. Now, the sixth thing the D1 wide receivers avoid has to do with the recruiting process, and that is disrespecting smaller schools that show interest. A lot of these D1 guys will probably get approached by a lot of like D1 FCS schools, maybe like an Ivy League school, etc. And they always, I feel, at least the receivers that I have seen, give them respect. They thank them for their time, even though that they may be going to a bigger top tier like Power 5 school, like a USC, like a UCLA, but they're getting recruited by a smaller school. They're very respectful. And the reason why that is important is college football is one of the most unsecure jobs in the world from a coaching perspective. You could be a coach at a D2 one year, next year you're at a D1. You could be recruiting an athlete from a D1, get fired, bam, you're at a D2 the next year. There is so much turnover, and there's literally no job security whatsoever. You're either in or you're out. So if you disrespect the dude at a small school, maybe he goes to a bigger school. Maybe that small school had a really good year, and now he's a position coach somewhere. Maybe you need an offer. Maybe you're looking at a school and he remembers you disrespecting him. And again, guys, that is the easiest way to have that school no longer be interested in you. College recruiting is a very small world. It's a very tight-knit group. So make sure you are not disrespecting the smaller schools that show interest in you. Now also, fellas, if you're a receiver and you guys would like to improve your skills this offseason, we have a 2-month-long workout schedule that you can follow if you check out that second link in the description below. It's a daily gym and field workout plan for receivers, the exact things that wide receivers should be doing. We break it down sets and reps, 3 sets of this, 4 sets of this. We give you a video example of each drill and map it out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. So guys, want some information on that? Second link in that description below. Let's get back to this video. Now, the next thing the D1 wide receivers avoid is neglecting their hands, like working on their catching ability. Like I'm sure you guys have all probably heard like the Amon-Ra St. Brown story where he's getting like 1,000 reps in on the jugs machine. I went to high school with that guy. Like, that's the truth. Like, he was doing that as a freshman in high school. We went to school together when we were both freshmen. That was the truth, guys. Like, every day after practice, he would stay and he would catch. Every day you'd see him on the weekends, just catching in front of his house. Like, it's a real thing, and a lot of these D1 guys have similar routines. So you can't be that dude that's like, oh, how do I work on my hands? Like, dude, put the time in. Go find a quarterback. Go find a quarterback coach. Go get some hand-eye coordination drills off of our page. Do things that will work on your hands, because again, if we can't catch the ball as a receiver, there's really no place for us on the field. Now, the next thing the D1 wide receivers avoid is solely relying on their size. I think a lot of times, these D1 athletes, they have good size, they can jump high, they're big, they're easy like jump ball targets, but I think a lot of times these D1 wide receivers don't just rely on that. Like, they know that they have size, but at the D1 level, everybody's got good size. So you working on your route running, your speed, your catching is the best way for you to be able to separate yourself from that competition. So if you're a good size receiver and you think that you have D1 aspirations, you could get recruited to play at that level, you can't just rely on that, you guys. You have to have other aspects of your game. Don't just take that for granted.